Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you game 2 out of 2 games between Ddraig and Sesni in round 1 of the second European tournament. Today we are going to be seeing Mont Ormel, and on the Allied side Ddraig is going to be using the 1st Infantry. On the Axis side, Sesni is using the 91st Luftlande. So in the first game between these two, Sesni kind of dropped the ball, used the 3rd Armoured and seemed really unfamiliar with the division, didn't bring in a single jumbo on what would have been quite a nice matchup for the jumbos. So that was quite surprising, but Ddraig managed to pull it through with the 116th, controlled the airfield with the Marder, and managed to win some decisive engagements in the town with his infantry micro and the Panzer IIIs. So that was really a good game for Ddraig. And now he's going to be using the 1st Infantry on Mont Ormel, which is a division map combination that I've seen other people have success with in the past. So that's something for him to work with for sure. The great thing about the 1st Infantry is they do, of course, have fantastic infantry. They've got all of the assault team, the assault MG, the assault breaches, and then they also have even assault bazookas, which have 2 bazookas in a single squad. And all those things combined make them a force to be reckoned with in these forests, as well as in sort of close range building engagements. They also are accompanied by M4s early on if they are chosen to be brought in, and M4s in Phase A are always really strong and something that allies can play around quite a lot. So on the side of the 91st Luftlande with Sesni, they also have pretty decent infantry. Of course, they have Fallschirmjägers. They've got an abundance of Ersatztruppen in Phase A. They can then back them up with things like the Fallschirmflammenwerfers, I believe, if they are chosen for the division. They've also got some pretty strong tanks. They've got the Stür 42 that they can bring in for the 1,200 meter range in Phase A to provide that HE support. And then there's also the HS129B3 that can be used to possibly counter the M4s. And that's something that I hope Sesni tries to look for if the M4s are invested in early, because the AA that the 1st Infantry can afford in Phase A is very expensive. So that's something that Sesni may be able to take advantage of. And honestly, the only fighters that you're going to see are possibly P-38s, and those are pretty brittle. So like a slight investment to the 91st Luftlande AA may be enough to get the job done. Let's have a look at some of these units going down anyway. For the top side, assault breaches or MGs. Further down, it's going to be the assault team with the command infantry there and the assault bazooka. Another unit of assault team further down. Then we see either assault MG or assault breaches with an AT gun. That's probably an M1 gun. And then you've got, for the bottom side, maybe a couple of assault MGs or one assault breacher in there with a command. It's always hard to tell with the 1st Infantry which is which between the assault MGs and assault breaches, because they both have the infantry icon, whereas the assault team, they actually have the flamethrower icon in their infantry. So that's how I can identify those units. Let's have a look on the side of Sesni. On the top side, we see an AT gun, an IG-18, an Ersatztruppen, and some Fallschirmjägers. Further down for the center, it's going to be 4 units of Ersatz backed up by a Panzerschreck, a mortar, and this command with the Panzer 35. This is an interesting setup because if the Ersatz are used correctly, this mortar could be used to just pin down enemy infantry and then have the Ersatz just advance onto them. Further down, it's going to be similar combination to the top side, Ersatz, Fallschirmjäger, Panzerschreck. And then further down, you have 2 units of Ersatz and a unit of Fallschirmjägers. So looks like a relatively concentrated push for Sesni in the middle of the map with the Ersatz, but not a substantial amount of points invested, considering Fallschirmjägers, especially being spread all across, does make this a rather spread deployment. On the side of Ddraig, we're probably going to see a little bit of emphasis on trying to make the assault team pay off as much as possible, but again, another pretty spread out deployment. Both players really going for that early on, and it's not often you see the A20C come out at the very start of the game for the 1st Infantry, because it is just very vulnerable. But against the 91st Luftlande, it's pretty unlikely that the 91st would have invested into a fighter early on. So it's something that Ddraig can maybe take advantage of to find out what he's up against. So if we jump into Ddraig's point of view, we can see that he can spot all of these troops on their way, but it's a pretty standard deployment from Sesni, so nothing crazy he's going to have to worry about. Just can identify that there's a lot of vehicles heading to the center, and that's something he's going to have to be careful of. And of course a small contingent to the top side, so gives him a rough idea of where Sesni was heading, and that's something that he's going to be able to work with. So 50 cal on the bottom side was actually the unit of choice. Otherwise it was just assault MGs, I believe, with a mix of assault teams, yeah. So if this can get into one of these buildings, it can actually control this bottom side quite well against Ersatz and the Fallschirmjägers. But one thing I'd like to see is the Stör 42 accompany a couple of these Ersatz into this bottom side. Because the Stör 42, especially if it comes through here, can use the range to engage the M1 gun. And that's something that will allow them to break through the M1 gun, and the Ersatz can just keep advancing whilst things are pinned down. So small engagement occurring in the mid, not ideal for the assault team actually. Fallschirmjäger's getting the perfect engagement there, but the assault team going to use their single grenade, smoke grenade, to get them out of trouble. Now assault teams aren't bad by any means. They do have the 8HE that they can use at the longer range. At shorter range they only have the M1 Garands, but at shorter range they also have the access to the flamethrower. So at both long and short range they are pretty decent, and due to their veterancy it can really help out. But here comes the 50mm mortar to help out, and if that can pin the assault leader or the assault bazooka, then that leaves the assault team potential full surrender, especially if the assault leader gets pinned down. But here comes the assault team trying to push into these Ersatz, and they can do a lot of damage, and you can see that's exactly what's happening here. Assault team are going to be pinned down, will most likely want to fall back as soon as possible, because you don't want the Ersatz trooper to just be sitting on top of those doing the 6HE damage over time. Here comes the assault team, going to be charging forwards. 50mm mortar is going to pin them down, however, which is a nice job. Assault leader's just got to remain up and running. If it gets pinned down, then the assault team will surrender, and that's not what Ddraig needs right now. And since the assault leader has actually been spotted, this is a chance for Sesni to really do the damage here, be very aggressive with this infantry engagement. For the bottom side, it's going to be Fallschirmjägers versus Assault MG. Honestly, the Assault MG at this sort of range can do a lot of damage, but the Fallschirmjägers of course have 8 HE compared to the Assault MG's 5, and that's something that they're really going to be able to take advantage of. Panzer 35 coming in on the bottom side, new Panzer 35 for the mid. It looks like it might have been replaced previously, because I can't really see if it would have already died, but I don't think it had. So looks like the Panzer 35 that was originally going to come and accompany the troops in the mid was replaced, and now it's finally coming in. So assault teams versus Ersatz. So far the Ersatz have managed to sponge the majority of the hits, and that's something that has been working out quite well. Assault bazookas are going to both be engaged at the 100 meters. That assault team coming through the tree line there is very risky indeed, especially with the Fallschirmjägers at that range. And now the 50mm mortar coming down once again to help the pin. IG-18 is even getting involved on the top side. But look at that. 127mm off map being brought in from Ddraig. It's not the most powerful off map in the world, but might help pin this advance and stop it from moving forwards into his territory, because currently not quite a +1 for Sesni, but he's getting there. A little bit more ground and going to be ticking a +1, which will be rather irritating for Ddraig early on. What I'd like to see is an M4. That's exactly what I see as I move over to the left side of the map. That's really good. And it looks like Ddraig's bringing in the A20C to observe the damage that this causes. Well, it pinned down the Ersatz. It did quite a bit of damage. Almost killed off the Panzerschreck, but as you can see, some units in that strike just didn't even get pinned down, and That's really the problem with that off map. But assault team find and kill the mortar, which is pretty damn significant. Assault leader's going to be looking for the shot onto the Panzer 35 if that gets over aggressive. The assault leader actually have 2 bazookas, so it's going to be very unlikely that they miss. And there we go. As soon as they're in line of sight, Panzer 35 goes down. Assault team on this top side going to be able to engage the ersatz at the 100 meter range, which is exactly what they want to do. They're going to be pinning those. The ersatz are actually not covered by command right now, which is a big problem. And well, in the forest back here, the Flak 38 is going to be hit really hard. Really nice micro actually from Ddraig to get his assault team down this hill, use the line of sight to sneak them into the bottom side of the forest here, and get into the fire support weapons of Sesni. So the mortar's gone down, the Flak 38's being forced to fall back, reinforcements are being cut off, and that's going to allow the infantry, assisted by the M2A1 and the M4, to push back. And that's really smart from Ddraig. Now there is the investment in more units on this bottom side, but I think it really depends on how Sesni goes about it, because this M1 gun should be able to clean up the Panzer 35, and without the Panzer 35 I don't think any of these units of infantry are going anywhere, especially with the 50 cal on the case. So there we go, M1 gun's going to engage the Panzer 35, Pak 38 is going to be pinned down by the 50 cal. It's a 2-star 50 cal at the end of the day, and nice job by Ddraig to get his assault leader into range of the assault teams so they do not surrender. That's just going to make it really awkward for Sesni to clean them up, and you can see that the assault team's just going to run around VulcanHDGaming to get the hell out of there. More ersatz on the way, but they are going to be mincemeat in front of this M4. The thing that Ddraig needs now is just a bit more infantry to support his M4, because he has got pretty light on the ground with the assault team down to 1 man, this assault team down to 4 men. This could potentially be assault breaches, I would assume. No, it's actually an assault MG, that surprises me. But with the advance of more ersatz here comes another off-map strike, and that's certainly going to look very effective as even more ersatz are on their way. Meanwhile, the M4 can keep them there, and well, not for long, as the Panzerschreck gets into range, 250 meter range there, exploited with the M4, gets the shot, job done. Nice micro actually by Sesni to make sure that that happens. Just being very patient with the Panzerschreck, using its very high stealth to get the job done, and that's going to be a real pain for Ddraig throughout the game, because you only get like a limited amount of those M4s early on, and then you have to wait all the way until phase C until you get any more. But here comes that off map. Didn't really do the damage I think he would have liked. Sometimes those rocket shots can really hit the mark, but this time around it didn't do too much, and most of the ersatz will recover. New strike going to be coming in straight after. Assault MGs though, 2 versus 1. VulcanHDGaming, also supported by the M2A1 howitzer, are going to be able to force those back, but the IG-18 now getting involved. These assault MGs need to move out of there, otherwise they will die very quickly indeed. So an investment into the M7DD here on the bottom side for Ddraig might help him to push into this compound. It looks like it's something that he wants to do. He's going to be aggressive with his 2 assault MGs. He's even got the assault leader moving forwards aggressively. So we'll have to see if these troops eventually reveal themselves, and if they do, the M7DD can help out. Here comes another off-map strike. That actually ended up killing off the flak this time, and it seemed to do a much better job of pinning the infantry. It's slowly but surely killing off more and more men from these squads, and whittling them down does allow these assault teams to be a little bit more effective over time. And with VulcanHDGaming actually being forced to fall back, it means any infantry that does get pinned is going to be instantly surrendered. So that's something that Ddraig can really take advantage of right now. These ersatz though, they're going to be trying to get the hell out of there. 50mm mortar coming in with the shots though, and that's going to be trying to pin these assault teams and stop them from taking advantage of that artillery strike. So the spear troop were taken out, and now the assault MG is engaging these ersatz troopen with the help of the M7DD. The M7's using the 50 cals on the ersatz and using its main gun on the Flak 38. I actually really like that allocation of fire. Going to be taking out that fire support weapon that basically removes all of the AA that Sesni has invested upon in the early game, and that's really significant actually, because now the P38s can cover the A20C whenever it's used again without having to be forced to fall back by the AA. So now we're into phase B. There isn't too much more that Ddraig's going to have access to. He's got to rely on his elite infantry that he already has on the field, accompanied by these M5A1s. He can also invest in some AA now, which he is doing. The MGMC is now coming in. And there's going to be probably an abundance of M5 guns available, so that's something else he might also focus upon. This engagement, 5HE versus the 5HE of the ersatz. That's probably going to fall in favour of the assault MGs due to the veterancy and the fact that the ersatz are disheartened. But the assault team's certainly doing a good job shooting through the ersatz there. VulcanHDGaming now going to be getting involved. 50mm mortar, trying to help pin things down. Looks like the VulcanHDGaming's got the better of them there, but the M2A1 howitzer going to be getting involved, and it's currently a +1 for Ddraig, as he has made quite a bit of ground into this forest in the centre, and with them both being infantry divisions, it's no surprise that this is the focus. Just got to be very careful that he doesn't hit too many shots with friendly fire like he has done just now with his assault team. So Bofors has arrived with the MGMC. It's just going to be unloaded a little bit further back. New machine gun has been brought in for Ddraig, and that's going to be trying to cover any advance that Sesni is trying to make. Ddraig will have to be careful against his Panzer 35. It can potentially sort of utilise line of sight to get up close and personal with the M7 and just kill that. But at the moment, I think it should be safe to just keep firing on the Panzer 35. Now the off-map coming in, these 127mm off-map, they do actually have, I think, 5 salvos. So that's something they can really take advantage of, and you can see just constantly using it to push the infantry further and further back and then sort of lead the charge with his own elite infantry. These VulcanHDGers, they're in a pretty tough spot, being hit by 2 assault MGs. Pack 36 is going to open up onto the M5A1 but was unsuccessful in finding the kill. Assault team's just going to back off here as the off map comes down, and it's going to be right on top of all of these different units. It's going to be hopefully looking for the kill onto the 50mm mortar. Completely misses the mark. Barely did a thing actually. Those strikes are so damn hit and miss. So double ME109 G2 BR21 was brought in to attack the M7 DD, but due to Sesni not having AA anymore and Ddraig having AA, the P38 Lightning free to take out those ME109s. I think Sesni actually had evac Winchester on there, so that when he did the strikes they just automatically evac, because otherwise a 1v2 against the P38s would have been pretty decent. It's just this Bofors may have made things difficult. The A20C is still happily flying about, +1, sitting in favour of Ddraig. Assault MG has managed to push up quite significantly, same with this one. But here comes another off-map strike. M2A1 howitzer actually being counter-batteried by the SFH396. I do like the choice of this AT gun, but you've just got to be careful that his front line doesn't collapse. Like, investing enough troops into this engagement is going to be important, but not too many, because these off-maps have made things very difficult so far. Pack 40 engaging the M5A1. Definitely going to get this kill if this M5A1 continues to sit where it is. Saying that, it's actually going to change target, I think. Oh, never mind. It's been manually targeted onto the M5A1. The A20C going to be continuing to spot that. The M5A1 actually manages to get into cover. MGMC is going to try and get out of line of sight before it's shot at. Unfortunately, the Pack 40 has no command nearby, so no veterancy, and that's going to make it rather inaccurate. So, the artillery there taking out the assault MG is pretty good, but the assault teams are continuing the push as the off-map did come down again. New M2A1 howitzer on the way. Assault MG just keeping on return fire, and I think that's really smart from Ddraig. He doesn't want that single man to just be killed off. So not much ground being made on this bottom side, but Sesni here getting aggressive with his 50mm mortar. That's a bit of a terrible micro there, and I think he realizes it himself as the M1917 HMG gets involved. There goes the M5A1, that finally goes down in the face of the Pack 40. But 3 assault teams still alive here. Certainly going to be able to do a lot of damage as they continue into the forest. We've even got the P-38 Lightning coming in now with the 2 15 HE power bombs. Also the M2A1 howitzer landing at the same time is going to hit that Pack 40 very hard. There goes a unit of ersatz. If the Volkswagen Ddraig goes down, then that's going to leave the majority of these men without command, and that's pretty significant. So Ddraig should be at the back here still. ME109 is going to try and hit the Bofors and is successful in doing so. But Ddraig might be able to find the kill. He does, just before the Flak 36 forces him to fall back. And while the HS129B3 came in, it looks like it picked up the kill onto the M7DD. Bit of a risky move though. Does manage to get away with it this time around. I'm really surprised that we haven't seen a Stur 42 yet, because Stur 42 on this bottom side is like just really useful. And the other thing about Stur 42, it's one of those staple things that you can really do with a 91st to make a lot of ground. You can just get very aggressive with it. The double ersatz Stur 42 combo is something that I would always think of when I play this 91st Luftlande. But maybe it's something that Sesni's kind of overlooked while playing the division. Anyway, Volkswagens are going to be falling back since the assault MGs have found their way into the building there. Might be able to actually get the surrender onto the Volkswagens if they're quick enough. But these M2A1 howitzers so far have done a really good job of helping pin down units as this advance continues, alongside that off-map that has been used throughout the game so far. But no real way for Sesni at the moment to push on this bottom side. Panzer 35 can't really get past the M1 gun. I don't think the 50mm mortar would have the range. It's only got 700 meters. So that's a problem. Pretty big problem. And well, it seems as though the SFH has also been taken out, possibly by counter battery, I would assume, from the M2A1 howitzers. Now a Stur 42 on the way. Coming to the top side, however. I think you can utilize the Stur 42 quite well. I did mention at the start of the game that you can bring the Stur 42s to the extreme top and bottom sides of the map, and they are pretty decent. It's just he's going to have enough infantry to push forwards with them, and at the moment there's nothing really here. So unless he's going to try and sacrifice his Volkswagens forwards into an MGMC, that's not really going to work out too well. And this MGMC has just managed to pin down and start kill off this Pack 40. If it manages to, that would be a really nice kill there for Ddraig. So rifles taken out. What looks like a Panzerschreck as it tried to move forwards. Pack 38 getting involved. Pack 40 did survive up the top side, but now +2 for Ddraig is making plenty of ground. But it's starting to slowly but surely lose his infantry dominance in the centre. With Sesni investing in these pioneers, they can use their grenades to take out these squads quite easily. That's what Sesni is trying to do here, and has been relatively successful in doing so. If Sesni can continue to affect the infantry availability of Ddraig, that could give him an advantage in the late game. M2A1, however, did finish off that Pack 40 on the top side. New Volkswagens are going to come up to lead the charge with the Stur 42. This M2A1 is going to take out that Flak 38, and here comes a 210mm off-map which is a good idea, but it's not really going to hit the mark because the majority of the infantry has already been taken out. So we'll have to see where this 210mm comes down. I'm not even sure what would be the best target right now. Possibly this bottom side. There's no recon to really spot the position of the M1 gun, so that's unlikely. And that's something that Sesni has a severe lack of right now, actually. Just no recon across the front at all. And when you're trying to use off-map, that's something that's really quite bad. Whereas Ddraig starts off the game with barely any recon, just the A20C, and has continued to use the A20C throughout the game. He's got multiple units of recon now accompanying his front line, and that's something that he's trying to take advantage of. A20C is going to find and possibly spot the 210mm off map there. So he'll know what's coming. May not overinvest into the centre here. We'll have to invest a little bit, but Rifle Leader, they're going to be opening up with their bazooka. Actually miss the Panzer 35, which is pretty tragic. And well, the Pioneer's going to pin them down with the grenade, and that's job done. So now the artillery coming down onto the Flak 36. Due to that being spotted by the A20. But I think Sesni's done a good job here of making sure it's only a +1 again. As long as it is just a +1 with this much time left on the map. There is potential for a comeback if you get in the right units. At this point, it's all about just killing the M4s and maybe making a push with the Stugs. Because the 91st should get access to some of those Stugs. Not the Sturs, but the Stugs. Well, Panzer 35 though, that goes down on the top side. Looks like another AT coming in for the bottom side, maybe to deal with the M5A1 that was harassing the Panzer 35. But that's the last thing he's going to want to worry about with the M1 gun there. Off map is going to be coming in. Probably going to end up pinning down 2 units of rifles, possibly killing the Bofors as well. It really depends where the shots land. Nice hits onto the rifles. Now the Panzer 35 going to be pushing aggressively. Bofors has managed to get away with it so far. I'm very surprised though that this hasn't been more aggressive, if I'm honest. I really expected the fast move there into these rifles. That would have been really smart, especially as the off-map was falling, because the Panzer wouldn't take as much of an effect from the off-map as the infantry was. So, missed opportunity there. Now the M4A1 going to be coming in to back things up. And, well, here goes the infantry, or the air engagement. Me-109 G6R6 going to try and get on the back of the P-38 Lightning, but plenty of AA on the side of the Ddraig. M4A1 is going to be able to shrug off these Pioneers and just absolutely carve them to pieces. They can also use this to kill off the Panzer 35, and that's going to absolutely rip through the forces that Sesni has here. Easy clean kill there for the M4A1. And it's amazing how much this game has revolved around the centre of the map, really. It's pretty insane. So now it's just going to be 2 units of rifles pushing through, supported by the M4A1, and the centre of the map is controlled by Ddraig once more. And after 24 minutes and 7 seconds, after that bitter blow, it looks like Sesni is going to surrender. And Ddraig takes the second game out of 2 games, winning both of them in order to put himself up in this tournament. Congratulations to him. We'll be scoring a lot of points from these couple of wins. And that's 1,555 kills to 650 losses. So I think Ddraig had the right idea. He sort of used his assault teams actually really effectively in the mid-game. Didn't overinvest into infantry. And I think that's something that Sesni unfortunately did do. He sort of got to that point where he had like 4 units of ersatz on the map already, and then was already bringing in 3 more. And then they just all walked into the same off-map strike. And although this off-map strike didn't get too many kills, it certainly damaged the squads enough for these assault teams to just mop up whatever was in front of them, and that's exactly what you can see happening. And these assault team bringing out or taking out 2 Volscian Panzerschrecks. One good move actually from Sesni was the Panzerschreck killing the M4 towards the start, but these M2A1s, they were microed quite well, found themselves a couple kill each. P38 shot down both of the ME109 G2 BR21s though. There was an issue at the start where they both, or sort of in the mid game, where they both came in to attack the M7 and they both evac Winchestered in front of the P38, and I think that was a pretty big mistake. In terms of losses, well, Fallschirmjägers, they can do well sometimes, but no real effective Fallschirmjäger squad in this game, which is a real shame. Pioneers managed to beat through the assault teams eventually, but that was probably due to the assault teams actually running out of flamethrower ammunition in the end. HS129 did pick off that M7DD, bit of a risky strike, but made it work. Didn't pay itself off though, so that's pretty significant. But yeah, this Panzerschreck killing the M4 was probably the only decent kill that Sesni found throughout the game. Otherwise, it seemed as though Ddraig had the control that he needed throughout in order to win with the 1st Infantry, and that's something that was really well done. So congratulations to Ddraig for winning both of the games. That's all from me for now though. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.